All right, here we go. Mozart in the Jungle, season number 4. We are going to play with the blood and recap right here on AfterBuzz. Check it out.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I could totally be a conductor.
You are in it right now. You are listening to one of the songs from Mozart in the Jungle. This was on episode 2, Vaughan Williams' Songs of Travel, Youth and Love, and quite the interpretive dance going on over there.
That's good, right?
You did it. You
They say, you got to find your own way.
Yeah, she was playing with something right there. Maybe not the blood just yet, but we'll get into all that. What's up, everybody? Oh. How could you compete with that, right?
You can't.
That is one of the things I love about the show, though, is that we can sort of educate ourselves about music and really like go into a space. So anyways, we'll start it off right now because we got to cover 2 episodes right now. I'm Ronnie Jr. My social media is going to be @randomlyrj, and we have 2 wonderful co-hosts, brilliant, and they are...
Hey guys, I'm Tara Ericksen. You can find me on Twitter @TheTaraEricksen or youtube.com/Tara Ericksen.
Hi guys, Linda Antwi here. Linda is so girly all across social media.
Oh my gosh, Mozart in the Jungle, it's back. I never questioned it, but you know, it's a show that you kind of have to do a little bit of discovery to find. You know, it has a buzz, but it doesn't have like the biggest buzz. So I was overly, over the moon, glad that it was going to come back. Your thoughts on the show in general, both of you?
I love the show. I mean, I'm in love with the lead actor. I'm in love with like the quirkiness. I'm in love that it's so positive with everything that's going on. It's just nice to just sit back and laugh and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm in love with Rodrigo. I mean, seriously, I love him so much.
Off camera, you guys were both saying,
Yeah.
Guys, I know it's like I see it and I get it, but I've never really heard anyone talk like as sex symbolness of him. And I wondered with you guys, was it because he's Rodrigo and he's so charming? Is it that, or just you just like him?
I mean, I think he's a brilliant actor. He did win a Golden Globe for season 2, and I thought he fully deserved it. And I think he'll probably, maybe even win again, even though I haven't finished season 4.
Yeah.
I just think he's so talented and just so handsome. Like his face, I look at it and I'm just like, I can't.
I agree with you. 100. Everything she just said.
Yeah, the long hair in season 1 to the short hair to everything that he does, whether he cuts off the long rat tail.
That's the thing, the rat tail.
I could do without the rat tail, but he pulls it off.
Right.
He pulls it off. I will be with him specifically with the rat tail. Anybody else, no rat tail. Him, I'm
Rodrigo,
cool.
like I think he complicatedly pulls off these things, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
In a weird, unique way. Before we talk about these 2 episodes, which start off our season 4, which again, like I said, I'm so excited we're back because, you can't take a show like this for granted. We will talk about these 2 first episodes, and then sequentially we'll be doing the next 5 weeks throughout the whole season. But what brought you guys to the show more so? And also, like, do you have any moments that stood out for you? Like, season 2, you liked, that they went to Mexico City. Like, what is it that you guys could recall as we get into the season 4? For the people that are just kind of joining us.
I think that I really related to both season 1 and 2. For season 1, I love the fact that that's us, or that's me, where you're on the grind and you're following your passion and the obstacles, but then you get to co-create with other creatives. Like all of that was very familiar to me, and so I think that that's what pulled me in. And then being in New York City, which is one of my favorite cities, that pulled me in as well too.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with that. I feel like the struggle that Haley goes through is a lot of, I relate to that, like as an actor or just being a content creator out here. It's just the same, like what's in her heart is what is in, mine and a lot of ours, of just like you have to keep going, but you can't give up, although there's so many days where you want to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the show really brings that to light, I think.
What I love about it too is I think the backdrop was fantastic. Like when the show came out, I was actually living in New York at the time, so it like really spoke to me in that way. And of course now I don't live there, but it's not just the New York City aspect. It's like the journeys they go along too. When we went to Italy, when I guess we're going to possibly go to Tokyo this season, it's all of those things too that open and expand your mind. And I think Haley is just such a great vehicle. You know, I talked about Rodrigo being complicated, but also her too, because she's complicated in a different way. He's complicated in a way that he's successful, but what do you do with that success sometimes?
Right.
And then the other more relatable thing is, you know, the come up, and that's what we see with Haley and mixing it with love or whatnot. I would say I loved. God, I'm trying to like list like season wise what really inspired me. I don't know. I liked season 2 a lot, you guys. I really did. That's kind of where I'm rewatching, and I'm going back to the episode where Gloria, you know, she's singing, and I liked how everyone just had to kind of decide where they want to go, and it's a story that never gets old, I guess. You know,
never does.
whether it's Cynthia in the coming episodes with, you know, her injury, it's a lot of questions that everyone's constantly asking.
And things that even if you're not a creative, things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, like setbacks and hopes and dreams and family. So all of that stuff is all throughout the show.
Yeah.
So it really is for anybody who wants to like feel inspired or can relate.
But I've also watched it with like non-performer types or whatnot, you know, and I think even Gloria's character being the bottom line, so to speak, and how she has to, you know, gravitate towards, you know, getting the bottom line to work in the favor of the symphony versus the art. Even that speaks to other people, a whole nother
Absolutely,
cross section. So fantastic show. I'm just glad that AfterBuzz decided to recap it, and I'm glad you guys wanted to do the show too. So
Heck yeah.
So we're in, and
it.
I mean, it's like we've seen the biggest flirting you will ever see, and the biggest foreplay you'll ever see, and we start season 4, episode 1 with the boyfriend.
The boyfriend.
Haley is just like in a nightmare, really, of, you know, she's 8 children deep, and it's Rodrigo's babies, and what the F is she gonna do? Opens up our scene to, you know, a nightmare, and her just having a 4 a.m. conversation with Rodrigo. And they're just such 2 different people, but it works. Thoughts?
I mean, I thought it was terrifying in a sense that, because I think even at the end of season 3, she was like saying, no, I can't be with Rodrigo because he's just on a whim, always doing different things and moving on to one thing to the next to the next. And then when he came in, he's like, no, I have to go do this thing when she's dealing with like 8 children. I was like, no, I wanted him in that moment, which I know we'll see more, to kind of be there for her, to see a side of him. Like, and I initially was like, this is a dream, but I still was like, oh, he's like, everything that he's doing is everything that Haley said he would do, but like in her nightmare.
I, for the first like 3 seconds, because I had just finished season 3 and I knew that they were hooking up, the first like 3 seconds I was like, oh my goodness, because, you know, they're now more mature, it's more time has passed on. Did they have a baby?
Right.
Like that flashed before my head for a few seconds. And then I saw another one. I was like, oh, she's dreaming for sure.
Yeah.
But it was so funny because you could see that she wanted it.
Yes.
But then when Rodrigo came in, she was like, you know, where are you? And that's her fear. It's like, where is he all the time?
Yeah.
And so it was a great opening scene.
Right. And then it, you know, the 4 a.m. conversations were very natural, and it asked the simple little questions, even like, you know, saying the word sweetie and how that, you know, what that resonated to her, because to her it resonated, ooh, that's like the next level. Like, it's not even just about her and the boyfriend, it's about her and like how she sees that word, that ugly word, which we'll come to find later is about her own parents. So
Right.
sort of an internalized situation there. And then they just decide to have 4 a.m. sex because that is what you should do. And in Rodrigo's perfect world, he's like, but we've never done it, so we just have to do it, which is like, I guess, the best rule ever.
Yeah.
So I guess if you ever wonder why Rodrigo's so happy, it's because he decides it's 4 a.m. We have not had sex. We have got to have sex.
And that he takes chances. You know, he does stuff that if he
Yeah.
hasn't done it, he's going to do it or figure out how to do it. That's what I love about his character as
Yeah,
well.
he's a risk taker.
Risk taker. Also, sometimes he doesn't own the responsibilities. So even the idea of like, I'm the boyfriend, and he's kind of trying to decide what that means. And also the next morning when Haley's roommates are there, they're kind of deciding and all having a group conversation about like, well, do you live here? You know, at some point, you know, when it becomes a live-in, everyone has to have the conversation. And I think that opened Rodrigo's mind up in a way. You know, it questioned his maturity. I think we saw that common thread throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that he's not willing quite yet to be considered the mature, responsible adult. I think that that's what we see him struggle with in this first 2 episodes. He wants to do it,
Yeah.
but
Well, he almost takes it as like a negative kind of in some. When Thomas had told him, "You're this, you're that, you're mature," he was like, "How dare you?"
yeah, that's what I mean. Like he doesn't want to have that. He wants to be the young, free spirit, genius, creative type. And I think that he associates being older with responsibilities and being tied down, which he's never been.
Yeah.
So it's scary for him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's terrified. I mean, he's been bouncing around from home to home since like day one.
He has such a gratification. He's always has. When he tried to get the loan in, I think, last season, he's trying to get the loan. It's like, she's like, well, what do you have to show for your credit or for your stuff? And I have no
Mozart.
stuff, you know. And so as much as that gives him a confidence, at this point, when people start to question his maturity, he's starting to like have a lacking in some way, even if he doesn't present it. That's how I took it, a smidge on that. But when we talk about maturity and him questioning that, I think also she's questioning or just continuing to be frustrated with tutoring. And, you know, I thought even the art was taken away in that, because the girl who was being tutored, or is that the term you would use, tutoring?
Yeah.
Was more about the social media aspect, and I think that really like hurt Haley a smidge too.
By the way, that little actress is amazing. Whoever she was, I meant to look her up, and I might right now, but she was so good. She was like one of my favorite parts of that episode.
But I also think too that really speaks to that generation, right? Because if it didn't happen online on social media, you didn't record it, then it didn't really happen. Exactly. So it was really realistic for me. And it was actually super funny.
Yeah. I loved it.
Realistic, funny, but then it takes away from like her. But I loved it because yes, I was with it with the little girl, but at the same time, you read Haley's eyes as like, what am I doing? And I think, you know, as you guys talked about, performers or whatever, you have to take these jobs that just don't sit within your stomach, you know.
Yeah.
And how do you keep going? And I think while she's dealing with that and the boyfriend, it hurts a little bit. Later on, we see
Lyric Hurd is her name, just real quick. Lyric Hurd is the name of the little girl.
Okay,
I'm sorry, she's so amazing.
Yeah.
Lyric Hurd.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of great guest stars on the show. I've always liked Thomas and Haley's relationship. He is a straight shooter, gives it to her exactly, you know, what is necessary. Sometimes he's a little too rude, but I think he does it in a heartfelt way. And I loved their little exchange, and when he kind of forced her to express, what is your conducting style, you know? Because otherwise she's going to keep doing what she's doing, you know?
Right.
And I think he has big plans for her. I think he hasn't told her outright that I have big plans for you as a conductor, but I think that throughout the seasons, you've seen him come along from being very stuck in his ways to finding love and being much more open. And I think he wants to really see her succeed, not only because she's a female, but because she's completely talented. So, you know, I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when we get to the second episode, and one of those guys comes to see him in his house.
Right. And he's like, I think I might have somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating thing as people, you know, we met Thomas Pembridge, I always get that wrong.
Pembridge.
Pembridge,
Yeah.
we met him in his highest moment, you know, in season 1, episode 1, and it got robbed from him. So it's fascinating to see these artistic people in their second and third acts.
Do you feel like it got robbed from him
What do you mean?
as a conductor?
I don't mean robbed like he didn't deserve to be done, and Rodrigo. I don't mean it in that way. I mean as a performer, like what Cynthia's going through. Like, what do you do in that situation?
Got it.
And you see a lot of people. You know, you see famous people have problems not being famous. You know, so I think I don't mean robbed like he deserves it, but you know, finding your next layer and your next.
He needed to find his next chapter is what happened, because he was always doing this, and now he had to recreate himself. Which,
Oh my God! When he was the EDM music,
I loved that.
Yeah. I like a confused Thomas. I'm into it. We also have a little bit of confusion with Rodrigo with the kids, which was his idea and his passion from the season before, but he's just so connecting in a Rodrigo way. You know, he's cursing with the kid and he's smoking with the kid, and what are you talking about? I gave up smoking when I was 12. I started when I was 8. You know, classic Rodrigo. He speaks to the heart of the person. What do you guys think about that overall scene? There was a lot of really good quotes in that too. You know, with Cynthia was there, as well as the "You're fired" teacher.
Oh yeah.
No, I quit. No, I fired. No, I quit. Fired.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, I just love especially in this first episode, they really do kind of bring a light where I would never assume, I never thought about that the symphony lacks in female, you know, maestras was what you maybe would call it. And I feel like this show is like bringing that to light, because that's never crossed my brain. And now I feel like that's just going to be a line throughout the entire season.
The exposure.
Yeah, just the exposure to it, I think, is cool, which then I assume that with the youth orchestra, they'll also bring in a female, hopefully, to kind of bleed into that.
But I also do think too, with his youth orchestra, that one kid is going to be his next prodigy.
Yeah.
And that's why he's spending so much time and like working at the restaurant.
Yeah, for him.
So,
and I love it because Rodrigo's so about the principles. Like literally things that he should be doing, he won't do because it doesn't speak to him. But him saying, wait a minute, we can have this kid practice if I just do his job.
Yeah.
Like that's what I love about Rodrigo. You know, it's not just funny with him. It's also like he goes right to the core of like how we are as babies, really. You know? He's like a big old baby that we all have a crush on, I suppose.
I think he finds solutions. You know, he's a problem solver, and what I like about him too, now that I think of it, is that you know he doesn't confine to society's rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, not at all.
He lives on his own tune, and he makes it happen. And I think that that's an important lesson that we all can take away is where, you know, it might be the straight line, but you don't necessarily need to take the straight line to still get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when he communicates with the kid, and the kid is like cursing up a storm. He's like, yes, I agree, but not with the language. Maybe just, it's a little too much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He just doesn't communicate with them.
He balances
just
politically correct
Yes.
and not at certain times.
And because he doesn't push too much like a teacher, I think that's the reason the kid had enough confidence to go into the restaurant, and then he drops the stick or whatever, and then he kind of loses the confidence. But he was humbled on his own, not via a teacher.
Yeah.
Because I think Rodrigo just gives them the space to go like do your art, but like stay in line. Somehow he keeps them in line. I think it's just because he plays along the same like baseline level that they're at. Because he's totally like a kid at
That
heart.
and he's
like
famous.
not. Yes, and they see his face just like him.
Yeah.
I think it also speaks to the perception too, because even when the mother said, and we're not really at that scene yet, but we will talk about that, of course, is like the mother said, well, but you can make a living off that, you know, like, so basically the child's life is this small and Rodrigo's life is this big.
Yeah.
So Rodrigo's influence is now like, you can do anything you want. The mom said that, and I don't know if it was an aunt or somebody else in the family or just an elder in general, had also said something to Cynthia like, oh, well, if you break your hand, what does that mean? Your career's over. Like, that child, though he was so cool and so intriguing, and we're all seeing this magic that Rodrigo's could instill in him.
Yeah.
Kind of, you
Crushed.
know, yeah, it's crushed by the normal societal, you know, issues of, you know, that's not what you do in life.
You know, listen, I can completely relate to that. I have very strict African parents. They wanted all of us to be lawyers, doctors, engineers, pick one. And we all kind of went that direction. But then you get to university and you're like, you know what? Like, there's this side of me that I want to explore. And I think that generation, they're used to being in a job for like 30, 40 years. They're used to stability. And I think that specific scene showed how they were worried, right? Like, they're a small business.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that he's going to be successful, not only as like a young prodigy, but like as a minority in a big city and all of those things. So I think that they were just projecting their own fears of the future for him.
Yeah, they don't even know how to manage that ideology. Like, oh, this is what my son wants to do. I don't
like,
know
what is
how.
that? Exactly.
Which is sad because I feel like the pressures of making a dream come true in regards to music or other arts is difficult to accomplish for a child, especially in their circumstance. So it's like most kids would end up giving up on it, you know?
Yeah.
So that struggle, and like hopefully we'll see more of him, obviously.
It's a fascinating storyline because it just speaks to the generations, as you were saying too. Another show that I love, Master of None with Aziz Ansari. He had episode 2 of his second season, and it was about the first season, and it was about the parents. And I remember one of the lines that one of the fathers said after Aziz's character Dev had said, "Oh, what did you guys do for fun when you were like our age?" And the father was like, "We didn't have fun. This is a new thing to your generation." So I think what you said, Linda, was so beautiful because it's like, as much as we like see it and we're like, oh man, I wish the parents could get it. Like, it's a generational thing where people didn't have all these choices and options, and that's actually scary for like the kids too. Like, we have so many choices. Like, I don't know back in the day if they were always told you can be anything you want.
Right
now it's like you could be anything you want. That comes with a lot for the parent and for the kid.
Absolutely.
So I didn't realize that scene was that heavy, but now that we analyzed
talking
it,
about it.
Now that we broke it down,
very
it's so
cool.
heavy.
Very cool. And of course, everyone knows that on our iTunes and the YouTube channel, they can like comment. You know, we're just trying to catch up because we are scooping right in from season 1, 2, and 3, and then 1 and 2 of season 4 rather. So there's a lot going on. Real quick, let's talk about the cutesiness of Haley and Rodrigo in the kimonos and being discovered, but it wasn't really a discovery. I mean, come on, everyone kind of knew.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been waiting
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. At one moment, I'm like, what show am I watching? I started this show like really like wanting to learn about the symphony, and then I'm like, oh, wait, so Gloria's banging Thomas, and Rodrigo is with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it all tells great to this part of the story. Yeah.
Right. And Cynthia's now with a basketball player, right?
And it's so interesting to me how, as we watch them grow over the seasons,
Yeah.
how happiness has changed how they view the world as well. Mm-hmm. You know, being in this relationship, Haley's more happy, Rodrigo's trying to figure it out, and then Gloria. Think about how angry and strict she was in the first few seasons, and now that she's found her love, she's
Right.
so much more open. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
I agree. I mean, love changes your point of view, I
Yeah,
guess, on
yeah,
all
and I
things,
love to see
right?
Gloria happy because out of all the other ones, they're all artists. Remember when was it Igor was played by John Cameron Mitchell? His character was kind of making was alluding to Gloria like, oh, you're not an artist, and then that's what Thomas was like. Wait a minute, she's an artist.
She
Right.
sings, yeah.
And then he was like, but you can't be inside of it and outside of it. So I think that's like her being happy is so interesting because there's a part of an entertainer that while everything else could be bad, their art can make them happy. So with Gloria, since she hasn't really done the art, like love really does give her a good kick in the pants.
Absolutely
Right.
agree with you,
Especially because she
100%.
can sing to him.
Could sing. Oh yeah.
That's
Well,
like
and of course,
her bringing it all together.
as I said, I love watching season 2, episode 4, just to see her just
Yeah.
when she jumped off those vocals off the page, off the stage, off Netflix, off Amazon. Everything was that good. Real quick, I love the Lizzie Haley exchange. Real quick, I know we'll get to episode 2 in 1 second. I just like it because Lizzie is another voice of reason in a whole different way as Thomas, you know, and kind of questions her. You know, hey, you're talking kind of quick, Haley. This means it's bugging you. She's just a really great mirror for Haley, I think, and has always been that way.
Yeah, I think she's been a definite consistent, and she allows Haley to see things from a slightly different perspective.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that best friend that she's going to tell you how it is no matter what.
Yeah.
You might like it, you might not like it, but you're going to think, you know what? You're right, or you know me, and that's an idea that I want to run with, like how she's changing her ensemble to a female.
Yes, it was a
let-
cutting edge contemporary female composers.
Correct. And then even when she's talking about Rodrigo, like, is he really your boyfriend? Like,
Yeah.
Is he? Because she's had that fear from seasons 1, 2, and 3, and I feel this is what my perspective from seeing them in episode 1 and 2 of season 4, that she's holding back because she feels like he's
gonna
he's
leave
gonna
her.
go again.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that like Lizzie kind of has an instinctual vibe on that of like, just be careful and
Exactly.
know what you're getting into, which she's repeated to her multiple times, but especially during that bar scene when she's there and be like, you get nervous. Like there's something happening here. And I think Lizzie is like sort of the foundation, like brings down the veil that Haley has, because he has such like a pull on her.
Charisma.
Like the second he shows up, she just like doesn't really, it's just they're there. And I don't think she uses her full brain to kind of digest what's actually might happen with
And that's
him.
why you need a good girlfriend to
Yeah.
kind of,
Ground you.
help you there, be the mirror of the situation at hand. Which I guess the two actresses are close in real life. They recently went to go see Bernadette Peters in Hello, Dolly, and
that's cool.
I guess I was like looking in the comments, and I guess there was a, Lola's comment was, oh yeah, me and Hannah are, the actress who plays Lizzie. We're friends forever. So I guess that's an added bonus to, that wasn't just
Very cool.
maybe an actress playing her best friend, but somebody she
Her friend, being her friend.
grew up with, and then to go see Bernadette on on Broadway, like that show, just fantastic. So that was just one of the little Instagram things I was looking at as we were getting ready. I think we could talk about the little restaurant meeting with Igor, and he had this great idea, ballet for no audience. So we will see that later. What I loved about that, real quick, because we'll get to see episode 2 here, is it was like Rodrigo saw somebody as goofy as him. Wasn't that great?
They were joined spirits. Like they were like speaking each other's language. I was like, you two are gonna have some genius creativity going on.
Yeah, I agree. No audience.
Yeah, because it made all the sense. Because they don't think like problems, or they just think what
Meaning like zero money to come from
Doesn't
like
matter.
an amazing ballet that he's going to conduct, and they're like, they don't even think about that.
doesn't do.
Which I think is great.
Yeah, just like when Rodrigo's like, oh, we'll do a children's orchestra.
Uh-huh.
Just what, Gloria, what's the problem?
Right. Like, what do you mean? Of course we're gonna do that.
And then we zoom. I think that's it for episode 1. We get in the good old bus there.
But my favorite line is, I don't want to think about the audience. I just want to be with my girlfriend. That he says to her at the end of season 1. And I was like, like,
Yeah.
I want that. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, the love is in the air.
So good.
The love and him expressing emotions is always so good.
Oh, and we can't move on from that without discussing the boyfriend and how much he kept saying, like, I'm the boyfriend.
I'm the boyfriend.
The
And it's the boyfriend, which
yeah.
is now what I'm going to call anyone I
Oh,
date
yeah.
for
Right.
a lot. I'm being like, you're the boyfriend,
boyfriend.
right?
And you guys, since we love the show, we also could offer like our opinions or critiques or whatever. I did go into this saying, oh, I kind of hope that the show doesn't overly have Rodrigo do these goofy jokes, and maybe some of them don't land. But as many as there were, I mean, I'm watching it and I'm like, I'm chuckling at him saying Wisconsin. No, that's not a state. Like, it's just what I'm saying is I went into it saying I don't know that we might get a repetitive amount, but lo and behold, we did get a lot, and they all landed and all hit. And I only looked at it with a critical eye, like, oh, let's not make that the basis of the show, but. Lo and behold, those jokes just work. I mean, it was a joke about Wisconsin, and he served it. Like, no,
he's
I
great.
don't believe that's a state because I decided it's not a state.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I just want to talk to people that way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, excuse me, sir, you got a speeding ticket. No, I didn't. You got a speeding You actually got a speeding
Yeah.
ticket, officer. Like,
I
I
love
think that's
that.
why people love him, because
Yeah.
his point of view is so different than anyone else's.
Outside the box, like I'm telling
Yeah.
you, he's not confined to society's rules and regulations.
Yeah, he can literally like just define whatever anybody says to him. He will find a way to
Yeah.
define it in his own way.
He'll
which
play
is
with
great.
he'll play with the blood, and if he sees somebody in the orchestra not playing with the blood, he'll say, "You are like a corpse."
Right.
He sure
which
will.
he sure did. Let's just because of the timing, I guess we should move on. Episode 2 was called "If I Was an Elf, I Would Tell You Highly." So they are en route to North Carolina. I visually thought it was beautiful. I felt like I was taken there. Our opening song was from that sequence there, and the words that struck me the most is when he said, "How could you tell the difference? Everything looks the same." So she was really just
Yeah.
welcoming him into the world of her yesteryear. Well, I think it sort of started a little bit earlier with her and the father. It was like a flashback. But generally, I thought those two parts of that really took us to all the troubles that she has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to really see the psyche of how she fell in love with the oboe, how she felt internal pressure not only from her parents but from herself, and the things that we all have our thing that is like the stopping thing for us, the thing that is most fearful for us, and hers is a fear of success, and she gets there and
Yeah.
then she doesn't get there, and at least that's what her father thinks. And I thought that it was a really good moment to have Rodrigo come to her hometown, because she went to his. They went to Mexico in season 2, and she met the grandma and all of that. So I thought it was important to have this backstory as well.
Yeah, I thought it showed a lot of strength for her, because to come back from having such a terrifying moment when you're that young to like run off stage, to be able to get back on your feet and continue to play, I think showed a lot as to why she is where she is at such a young age and why she's so good.
But do you think it's just that, or do you think it's because her father has pushed her this whole
Oh
time?
my God. Probably 60% her father, but at the same time, just her having, I guess, the gall to go, okay, I give in to do it, because it takes away so many hours of her daily life that I think her dad obviously put a lot of pressure on her, but there has to be some part of her that just goes, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna decide to instead to be like a rebellion, little.
Yeah.
She's kind of, it was I forget how old she was in that
She looked like she
flashback,
was
like
8
12
years
or
old or something.
or
Yeah.
8. Okay, even
Yeah.
younger. Yeah. It shows a lot of strength, but I do agree there's that one moment though in the bedroom, I know at the end of this episode, but where she does say, "But I love it." And that was the first time I'd ever heard her kind of say out loud, but I love it. I love doing it. Even in all the episodes, it's just her struggle is real.
It's
She's
usually
practicing,
like I am doing it because I'm on a plan or
yeah,
something.
she has a path to follow that she
Yeah.
has to get to, which I do agree. Her dad is at the end and waiting, and that probably had a lot to do with
And
it.
it spoke a lot to the comment, oh, so now I understand why you're the best or you fucking suck. Like,
Yeah.
Rodrigo got to see that, Obviously he knows his girlfriend pretty well, but like to experience it, it's like, oh, that all of that is what developed all of that,
Yeah.
real quickly.
Yeah.
What did you guys thought of the overall, like the parents greeting? We were introduced with the idea that like, obviously the father is too much, even with the mother. The mother was even like, let's slow down, so we got the pressure point immediately. But the first couple interactions actually went pretty good. Well, he jumps up a tree.
Right, and it's Rodrigo, so he's famous. So
Yeah.
and they respect the arts and music and all of that. So I would think that it would go well. And I think that he sat back and just watched the family dynamic instead of getting involved in it. And I thought that that was important too, because he's really getting to see what his girlfriend's life was about. And
Do you think he listens enough though?
I think he listens through his own lens, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He listens through his own lens.
He doesn't compute information the way the rest of the world or people do.
Right.
So different for him. Like, yeah.
The genius mind.
Yeah.
The other part that I wanted to say was that I think that also Haley got to see her parents in a different light towards the end of the episode. I think that she was very, very critical of them. I think that she had some hostility towards the father when she said that, no, I don't want to play for them on their 30th reunion or renewal of vows because he's not nice to her.
Right.
Right? They didn't really delve much into it.
I know, and
So-
that bugged me too.
Yeah, so I was like, well, there's some backstory there, like, okay. But then I think that she saw them interact, and she went and talked to her dad when they were with the telescope.
Yeah.
And I think she, calmed down and thought, okay, maybe they are a little bit different than from the last time I was here. Because
Yeah.
we know that she was not there for a long time. 'Cause
Yeah.
When she first came, oh, you finally
Yeah.
are back.
Right. And the mom said that marriages change, but I was expecting to see a flashback or something about what he was doing back then to make him that he's not nice to her. Because then it just cuts to them. You hear rumbling and they're obviously having sex. I at first initially, because she's like, he's not nice to her. When it cut to that scene, I thought maybe they were fighting. And I was like, oh,
no.
we're gonna dig into it now. Thankfully it wasn't. It's fine. But I kind of wanted to know why she said that too. Yeah.
I did like how you go through these moments where you harbor so much of I guess, she's obviously hurt the fact that the father treated the mother bad. So in all of the other things she's dealing with, trying to be a performer, her own dating life, just her own life in general, her looking back at North Carolina is sort of ugly. So I thought the mother scene, as you were talking about, where the mother was painting and just saying like, hey, things do change, and like just kind of go with us. It was like two separate moments where Haley was with the mom and the little rougher scene with the father, where I would like to hope that Haley started to love them in a different way.
Absolutely.
Like, I know it's a
Yeah,
cliche
Absolutely.
comment.
No, but I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing. Like, I think that it was a great juxtaposition. Like,
Yeah.
she comes home, everything looks the same, but everything is different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Did you guys? Well, I guess so. Both parties essentially brought news, like unexpected news. Did you think they went over too easy? Because Haley surprised them with the boyfriend news, and then because when I first watched it, I watched it twice. I was like, oh, I kind of missed it, I guess, into my second watching. That it was a surprise. She had no idea that they were going to do the vows. That was like a sneak attack.
Yeah.
I thought, like, I guess I'm wondering, like, why were they all so cordial about it? Is that kind of this cookie cutter life that they've been maybe living? I mean, I know I'm trying to dig a little deep on that because you know what I'm saying. No one tripped. Nobody tripped.
Well, Haley didn't know that he was coming, for one. So
Right.
I think that she knew her parents, but I think that her parents knew she was coming and wanted her to be involved
Yeah.
in the renewing of the vows. That's why they sprung it on her, so that she wouldn't be able to be like, oh no, I can't make it, or I'm too busy practicing, or whatever the case may be.
Right. Right.
That's what I took from it.
Yeah, I feel like the backstory with the parents and all the negative energy really just comes from Haley, and we still haven't really we've only seen a couple of flashbacks with her parents, so like we don't know what all that depth is, where that's from, and what she fully experienced to know why. Because right now that just seems like a normal thing.
if I may, and if our viewers may too, I feel like because this ain't the first time we've seen a scene like this where like the child goes back, they have a perception of the family, and then they have valid excuses or reasons why they are who they are. But I love watching these portions of the show because I think it speaks to like your own true life where I'll do it, where I'll say there are certain things that I've just held on to so much. I'm not saying this is a moment where I'm going to let everything go, but like it just spoke to me in that way where like as valid as all of that stuff is, as tough as he was to her and as screwed up as that made her, like at this stage she has to live her own life. I'm only saying it as a vulnerable moment even for me, like where I'm like I'll catch myself doing that. I'm like, okay, all of these things that occurred made me why I feel certain ways, but like good God, it's like, you know, we're gonna turn 10 more years older and then 10 more years older, like life is gonna happen, so you have to find a like cut the tape. And I think maybe that's sort of what she did in this episode a smidge.
Yeah, I mean, he did tell her to play with kind of the intention behind it of how parents turn their kids into crazy people. And I feel like artists are crazy people. You're crazy to be able to sit in your room for 5 hours and just play. That's it, and that's your only focus. Like that made her kind of who she is. I don't think she would be the artist at her level, what she's at right now, without any of that.
And that communication and that knowledge is so good. Like I was talking to my mother the other day, and by no means have I like studied, you know, an instrument or whatever, but just even in the world of like broadcasting and whatnot. And I was even just this sheer comment. I'm not saying shocked her, but like the sheer comment was like different. I was like, you know, Mom, it's like this idea of, you know, the job that you went to, every day that you went to that job, you've got the pay that you deserved. You haven't had to like go to an event. You didn't have to network. You didn't have to do something for a lower scale because it was an opportunity. Like we do put in so much into this thing. I'm not certain why I brought that up as a point, but it does.
Well, because it makes you have to be a little bit on edge and a little bit crazy to do like what we're doing out here. Is also that's I think why we relate also a lot to Haley and their jobs.
That
and
when
stuff.
you're explaining to your mom, who's a different generation, that it's not the 9 to 5, just hand me the check. There's a lot more that goes
and
into it.
I couldn't imagine like my family, they work in the what do you call it, on the waterfront, like you know, that type of job. I couldn't imagine like there would ever be a moment where you could just go to the waterfront and just work for like experience. Like you need to get your union money. Like that's just not going to happen. So it just to think about all those blood, sweat, and tears hours that everyone puts in to get the craft and to be good at it, and also like still want to do it, because just because you're good at it doesn't mean you're therapeutically inspired. I want to get to the scene at the antique store and the cute little bike ride in 1 second, but come on, Rodrigo, and he goes, "Oh no, I live in Haley. I live in her."
That was priceless. She's like, not in me, not even with me. He stays with me sometimes.
I feel like he does though, because when she started conducting, she does a Rodrigo move.
With Thomas. Yeah.
So maybe.
But I loved it because I think when you have situations with family or old friends, whatever it is, like I think that they all knew there was a lot of conversation going on. It could have been touchy if they continued. It was best to, I think she did like a little, like she went to Rodrigo's head, gave him a kiss, and was like, okay, everybody, let's keep it going. Because if we keep talking and we talk about the moving in, it's just judgments start happening, and it was a great idea for Haley to say, let me cut this.
Plus, I don't think she knows yet either. I mean, I know towards the end of the episode, but she's still on the fence with exactly what is this and how serious it is. So I don't think she would be ready to have that conversation. I agree. Either.
She really took some interest in him on another level when she looked at him and said, "Oh, you're playing was it the banjo or whatnot?" And just sort of like, "Wow, you're just like perfect at everything." You know, and I don't know what that thought process was. You guys could give me what you think. I think I wanted to resonate it as her saying, "I'm trying to go with the flow, but you just do so much so good." And like I think it was like another layer of her saying how much she liked him without wanting to admit it to herself. It's been easy to be like, oh, this is just what it is, and be confused with Lizzie, but like I think it's like, you know, is that I don't know, what did you guys think of that scene?
I mean, I agree with you. I think that I think the word they use is orbit. And I think she's been living in his orbit for, you know, however many years these 4 seasons have been. And I think that she's struggling with the amount of love she has for him, but she's also holding it back because she doesn't know exactly what's going to happen with him because he's so flighty. And then on the flip side, she really does want to find herself and her own voice, but she literally has been his like right arm, right hand this whole time. So it's like she's balancing those two things, and I think they sometimes knock against each other and make her doubt herself sometimes, because he is a genius. And just a little flip, when he was on the phone in the first episode and he was speaking German, then he was speaking French and English and then Spanish, I was like, see, like what language does he not speak?
Right.
What instrument does he not play?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she talks about him being a musical, magical thing, and
Elf.
that like an elf, right? And then that's why she says after he plays the banjo, she's like, see, elf. And I think that is just her saying it out loud is a reminder to herself to be like, you have to be careful, because he really is like, he's a different person.
Yep.
He's a different kind of magic, and he kind of has her under a spell when they're together. And she's just in such a really dangerous position, because when he says stuff like, the boyfriend, I don't care about like the audience, I want to be with my girlfriend. Like, he has a lot of great lines, but at the same time, it scared the crap out of me when he goes outside to meet with, I believe, Mozart, who's like, what are you doing? You're wasting time. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, that's his internal monologue a little bit, that he's getting into the relationship with Haley, but he wants to do it so bad, like you said earlier. But I think there's the other part of him that's like, I can't do real life things, because he is who he is. And I know that,
that was
eventually
so good.
Haley's going to get caught in the aftermath, and I'm terrified.
Well, and I haven't even made it that far, because I want to just like be in a good hope. But like what I saw that was so intriguing is they're on the bench outside, and he looks at her and it says something like, "No, I'm in this. Like, I want to be in this thing. Like, I can't remember the terms that were used, but it was a different way that he ever like expressed his love for her. Usually it's funny, nutty. That time he was like, I'm in it. And then he would go on later to say like, what would be the problem with living in North Carolina? Like all of these traditional things. And I think that's why Mozart came at a really great time, because it was like Mozart was getting sort of mad, like, you have this gift and now you're just gonna. It was the hardest thing for us all to watch, I think, even though it wasn't even that bad, because it's like Mozart was questioning it for like finding love, kind of. Or did I read that wrong?
I think he was, finding love, or you're wasting time. So you're here in North Carolina, you think you want the picket fence and the 2.5 children, and you two are going to swing on this bench all day. That's not going to happen, because you're so talented, you're wasting your time.
And it's the gift that God gave you.
Right. So
and that's why I guess like I was telling some of the AfterBuzz people here today who hey, what show are you doing today? Hi, we're saying hello. I'm like, Mozart in the Jungle, and I'm trying to tell them why it's so important of a show. Like, it's not going to be a show compared to like the Narcos and all that, and blood and gory. You won't see the social media woos, but the show for like a therapeutic level is so fantastic. In fact, our AfterBuzz, creator, Kevin Undergaro would always say, in life, there's civilians and samurais, and it's like, the civilian is going to give you that Rodrigo that we saw. He's saying he's more in love. He's thinking about North Carolina. He's enjoying. Wow, look at the house. He's kind of enchanted. With that said, the contrast is Mozart is speaking through him as like, but I could have given me to all of these composers. I gave it to you, and now you're going to get rid of it. What a challenge for any entertainer.
I don't think that he would get rid of it, though. That was the struggle with me, is when he says that, I'm like, he's so famous that it doesn't matter if he moves there in that house. He can still do whatever he wants. He would make it work as a composer, and I feel like Haley would be the one who's caught in the crosshairs there. Well,
and the bigger question too, and this is less of the. Oh, did you have something? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm thinking about what she's saying.
No, then do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say this is less of the show, but it's like, there shouldn't be a challenge. I mean, there shouldn't be a challenge if like things like love come into your life and you have to reassess your plan. Like I think, I guess it's depending on the person. If you feel like doing things that are going to enhance your life are better for your creative outlet later on, then darn it, take yourself to North Carolina, fall in love, have children. If God is meant for you to push this gift, he's going to push it however. And that might be by way of teaching the youth in North Carolina and some amazing, brilliant person. Like, I think like the universe has a way of doing that.
Absolutely. I think that you can have it all. It may not look exactly like you thought it was going to look, but it's going to have all the components that you need. And that's important to remember too, is that you don't have to you don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
Working your ass off for art doesn't mean you have to lose yourself completely, is what I would like to think. I'm doing the Gianni Versace after show too, and he speaks a lot on that too. It'll be like, I want my models to feel like they've lived a life and had many lovers. And it wasn't about the product, it was about the feeling that was evoked. So
right. It's just with him though, he's already reached it, right? He's reached like kind of a pinnacle of a career, so he has it easier, and Haley has not, which is makes me. And I'm just like, no, Rodrigo. Of course, he wants to live in the house. He is already doing his dream. Haley has not gotten there yet, and she would be. It would just be a disappointment. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but I'm just saying, like, even I would love to see that picture, but it would be more unfair for Haley than it would be for Rodrigo.
I mean, not until she made it herself.
Exactly. Like, she needs time to, like, hit the pavement.
And that's what makes
dream.
it so challenging. I think she had the conversation with Lizzie. Was it Lizzie or even Rodrigo about like, oh, well, he's this and I'm just this. It's like, it's so competitive. It's like, man, you almost wish like she was dating somebody who was in like finance. So then they could just have a beautiful relationship.
Yeah.
But maybe the connection wouldn't be there. We are running low on a little bit of time. I think we got about 5 minutes left here, or 3 minutes here. Do we have anything else we have to bring up? I know Cynthia struggles. That wasn't a big part of it, but I do want to make mention. It's that same thing. Thomas has to find, his second act, his third act. Cynthia has to face, what will I do without this?
And she's not ready to. She's not ready to. She's lying about her healing process, which I'm interested to see how it unfolds, because she could probably injure herself permanently.
Yeah, I
She needs
know.
to think about it.
Because she was like, I'll sign whatever you need.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, that's a dangerous position to be in. But I understand when that's all you want to do is just play her cello.
Yeah. And we should see that as people, not even just entertainers, but people that are retiring. Like, whatever your identity is for so long, it will change. Nothing is permanent. I never noticed, but Cynthia looks just like, what's her name? Gina Davis.
Oh yeah.
I never noticed that. Now
similarity
I can't.
For sure,
I cannot.
Now you can't get it out of your mind.
Yeah, and I also can't get over that Cynthia's had probably the most lovers on the show. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Gosh, she's so beautiful.
Isn't she
She's
something?
so beautiful.
Oh,
and
God.
I'm like, her and the basketball player should have babies, because they're both going through the same thing,
Yeah.
right? He lost his career, has to get like surgery, and then like he's so handsome and cool.
Oh,
and he
Baron
likes
Davis
her.
from the basketball
Yes.
from last. I can't remember his name was. We'll go back.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up real quick. We did have a little bit of fun with Gloria too, because like I said, as much as we get involved in this show because of the art, Gloria is like, she's the lover now, but she's also like bottom line. And I guess the Pope wants to get involved, so that's something to
That
get
should be interesting.
exciting
We
for.
got the Pope.
Yeah, I love that.
Is there anything else we got to wrap up here before we do predictions or any final thoughts?
No, I just loved when Haley and Rodrigo though played at the end at her parents' thing. And I was like, oh my god, that connection there. I was like dying inside.
I think that part was beautiful, but I also equally loved the scene where they're sitting on the bench.
Oh,
It says
yeah.
North Carolina, and she starts to boss up in some ways. This
gonna
is
have to
what
start
I
paying
want.
rent.
This is. She never really says what she wants because she like looks at it as like, I'm second fiddle to your success.
Right.
So, damn it, girl, that was good.
Yeah.
That was really great.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we could do predictions. Anthony in the booth,
Sure.
or
What do I think?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
and we've not seen the.
Yeah, we moved ahead.
We're only going 2 episodes at a time for a 5-week run of our after show. So, Linda.
I think that Malcolm is going to recommend that Haley be the conductor in the Bronx.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's looking for a
Totally.
conductor. I think he's going to highly recommend her, and she's going to go and
Oh,
do
it
it.
was Queens.
Queens.
I only laughed because he goes, I've heard it like the
Yeah,
land.
he's like,
I've-
no, he said like the European orchestra. And
Oh
he's
well,
like,
no,
right?
you're right. At first he
yeah.
said Queens, and then he goes, no, like Queens, like like
Yeah,
the borough,
yeah.
like the
Yeah,
borough.
yeah.
And so Thomas was like the land, like
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
but I mean, wherever you could find like inspiration, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
that's
I think
cool.
that's what's going to happen. That's
Yeah.
my prediction.
Okay, I know that Thomas and Gloria, they had a conversation about she didn't want to get married again. I feel like they're gonna have something's gonna happen to where he like wants to propose to her, or some grand gesture that will solidify their relationship totally. And yeah, I just kind of want to see, Haley and Rodrigo actually living together, and I assume that they're gonna write it where there's going to be a downward spiral at some point, because it's
Something's
going to
gonna
be
happen.
too much of Rodrigo, because sometimes he's just too much, and it may kind of go downhill a little bit.
Going off that, I wonder if the downhill spiral, as you mentioned, would have to do with, let's say Haley does find like some whatever is equated as success, and she starts to become more confident or whatnot. Like, will that displace Rodrigo's stuff? Not even like he doesn't want to love her, but like he's such a runner, he's such a gypsy. He's that.
Right.
How does he react? Like, he's so good at being this person to her struggling life, and I don't even think he thinks it that way. It's not a mean thing at all. But
Right.
what will it be like when she stands on the 2 feet? You know, and we
Good
saw
question.
we saw a tip of it by her saying, you know, you're gonna pay the rent. This is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Gloria thing too. No, Gloria and Thomas. Like, I'm just thinking about when Gloria running around Italy and Gloria and Thomas meeting her parents.
Yeah.
Although it's just the comic relief of the show, I just want it at all times.
Yeah, they're great.
Anyways, if there's anything that we missed, of course, all the AfterBuzz hosts will always tell you that, you know, iTunes, you could write, and of course on the YouTube channel, just in case we miss anything, and keep the conversation going. And if there's any news you want to share with the cast and the talent, I know Lola Kirk, she's got a couple shows going on out in Brooklyn, and I think she's got one here in LA as well. So yeah, it's good to see the cast doing other things. You know,
Yeah.
Bernadette Peters at Hello Dolly and Lola Kirk with music, and it's all over her social media. So that's something fun to look at. And I guess that's it. Are we done
I
already?
think we're done.
Damn.
done.
All right.
So fast.
Do you want to do your
There's so much to
social
talk about.
media, Linda?
Yes, guys, if you want to chat with me, you want to continue the conversation, I'm all across social media. Linda Antwi at Linda is so girly.
Yay. And I'm on Twitter at the Tara Ericksen and youtube.com/Tara Ericksen.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. That was, man.
Where can they find you?
I'm just saying, slow. I love the show so much, so it's so good to be able to exchange the ideas. Anyways, they can find me at randomly RJ, and I guess that's about it. No more playing with no more blood. All right, we're done. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.